Hey guys, what's going on? This is the Comics Meltdown Bouncecast, and my name is Akintoba Kalejayi. Today we have loads of people around to talk to us, to gist, to abuse each other in the words of Nuru. But first things first, let me introduce my fellow hosts. Nuru, what's going on, bro?
I'm good, man.
Nuru is the almighty admin of Niger Nerds and also a host on another show, Nerds from Work. So you guys can check out his website, can also check out the other show that he hosts. Honestly, these guys do really, really good work. Moving on to the second host, it's Mobalaji Moore, the biggest Batman fan. Guy, wait. The biggest Batman fan that I have met in my life. This guy will not allow us to rest. Just before we started this podcast, he was already trying to sell Batman to us over Black Panther. But we will get to that as this cast goes on. So, Bolaji, what's going on, bro?
I'm good. We'll get to that. I'm ready.
you know the funniest thing, before I move on with introductions, the one we did last, the Bouncecast we did last, and so we had a topic about Batman, and everybody on the Meltdown was talking about how it was just three guys against one, and how Moore kind of held down the fort for the DCGs, and he was on that post flexing and feeling like, yeah, I held down.
yeah. Like the last man, I swear, I was really.
No, but when we start talking Batman, Moore is enough for like 8 people. It's just that.
Honestly, bro.
I don't think it was even fair to us. Let's be honest.
Yeah. So moving on to the other guys that are joining us today, we have Olawale Ajao, a member of the Comics Meltdown. Wale, what's going on, bro? Ozo is a member of Comic Republic. He's also the creator and writer and artist for Eru the comic. He has done a couple of other projects, but when we get to that topic, obviously we're going to, he's going to have his say. He's going to talk to us about what he's doing with Eru, what he's doing with Ajay, and all the other projects that he's working on. He's really here. We want to talk to him about African comics. Oz, what's going on, bro?
Oh, hi, I'm good. How's everybody?
Yeah, great to have you. Thanks for joining us today. I know taking time out of your busy schedule, I know that's a big favor, but thank you for coming on the Bouncecast. And now to the biggest Thor fan in the house, one of the hosts of the Bouncecast, who has just joined up. One of the reasons that I personally like the fact that Dakpo is one of the hosts is because he's one of the few guys who can rival Thor. Who can rival Moore when it comes to being a fan, So when these guys, when they kind of start their thing, we just leave them alone and we just sit back and just allow them to do their thing. Dapo, what's going on, bro?
Yeah, I'm good, guys. Nice to be on the call. Okay. By the way, Moore is in a league of his own. Nobody can rival Moore.
I want to mention something that before he came along, I was really worried about me being the only bald person on the group. Everyone had a cap, had hair, and stuff like that. So I'm happy he's joined us now.
Right now, we have a topic: African comics that are actually good reads. And to give a background on that topic, African comics are coming of age. Loads of publishers out there pushing out new titles every single month, every Wednesday. And there are quite a number of them that are very, very nice comics to read. So I can see Oz putting up his comic right there. Ozo, who has joined us on this cast, actually is a creator, he's a writer, he's an artist for Comic Republic, and he is the creator and writer of Eru the comic. But before we go to that, going on the topic itself, African comics are actually good read. Guys, what do you think? What African comics have you read that kept your attention? Let's start with Nuru, then Dapo, then Moore, Wale, and lastly Oz. Nuru, what do you think?
First off, I gotta ask this question: is Ozo the one behind Galactic Core?
No.
Okay. I asked because there's
another Ozo.
There's an Ozo in there. I'm like, okay, that's kind of confusing right there.
It's different.
Yeah. Okay. When it comes to comics from Africa, I mean, I've always been a raging fan of the Kid. No, I'm kidding. But for me, there's always been like 3 things I look for in comic books. One, do I like this world I'm seeing? You know, do I like this environment that's created? Number two, does the story engage me enough to feel like I can get into this? You know, and number three, the person or the presentation of the characters involved. Is it something I can get into? Is it something that's a little too bye-bye? Is it something that's a little too complicated? Is it something that's a little too complicated to get into? If it's too hard to get into, then I have an issue with that. For me, I think it's hard. I didn't know you were gonna make us pick three and just toss them out there.
Okay, or you can just pick anyone.
No. I'm gonna try.
Okay.
Everything's a challenge. I liked it's a whole lot. I liked the world I stumbled into with Johanse. That particular comic, I liked it. I also liked I hadn't really read too many, Comic Republic is very prolific. They have a whole lot of stuff out there. I hadn't really read everything or a lot of them. But I read what's it called? Amadioha. And I thought, you know, Amadioha was particularly well done. You know, the story, the world, the environment made me think, okay, I want to know more about this cosmic / magical, you know, realm, like an African Thor story, which was really, really good. And it made me feel like, yeah, that's something I can get behind. There's a few others that come to mind. I don't want to start spouting too many names, but African comics are definitely on the rise. Definitely on the rise. Oh yeah, I was gonna ask you.
Can I do one retort? Has it not been a Shango comic already?
Don't retort. When it gets to your turn, you retort. Sorry, Nuru, please finish up.
Yeah, he blew the thought out of my mind real quick.
If you remember, then we'll come back to it.
I just remember this. Yeah, Malaika.
Okay, Malaika.
Comic, Malaika.
Yeah, I thought that was a great comic as well. That was a great.
Really well done.
Yeah. Roy is doing a really good job with that.
Yes.
Okay. Dapo, what African comics have struck you that you think are good?
Well, back in the day, I used to read Power Man, and I quite enjoyed that. But about from the current crop, and apologies to anybody because I've not read a lot of them. Like a few of the ones that Nuru just mentioned, I know I've not got around to reading. I've read quite a few. I think the one I enjoyed the most, and I'm still even now I want to get more of, is the one called Quasi from I think it's
Quasi Loiso.
Yes. So I really like that. I thought the quality was top notch. I enjoyed the story, and I think I read 2 issues, and I've been told that there's more out now. So
there's more out there, yes. There's
so
more
out there, yes. So okay, yeah. So I want to track those down. My second one that I like, and there's an element of me being a bit partisan by liking it. I like Ireti, and somebody
I like Ireti too. Yeah.
Somebody pointed that is it because she's from Batman? I must admit, it added to the appeal. That's not the reason. If it was crap, I wouldn't like it. But
yeah,
it added to the appeal. And weirdly enough, and this is a recent liking of mine, is Ajay. Because before this, I would have been saying Visionary, but I like that last Ajay issue really. Yeah. And it's more because it actually looked to me very much like an old school independent vertical type title. And I guess that was part of the art as well, helped to do that. So those are my 3. At the moment, those are my 3 favorites.
Great. Thanks, that works.
Yeah.
And me and you fight with
that. Are those all Comic Republic?
No,
I didn't catch the first one.
Two are. The first one is not. The first one is I think South African. Is that correct?
Yes, it's South African. Quasi South African from Quasi Comics.
I haven't read Quasi yet. Yeah, okay, that's one.
Yeah, you should try it out. It's a great comic. Okay. Like I said, Dapo, me and you will fight later in public. Moving to more. What are the African comics that you thought are actually good? You need to project. Sorry, we can't hear you.
The one that I think is most consistent and over the years that I've been reading for quite a while. I used to buy it at Mr. Biggs then every month. It was Super Strikers. It was always there, and they had adverts inside it, so it seemed like it was going to last for a long time. So I could invest my time in it, you know, and that's one I really, really love, and honestly put it there. Then there's this one that Akitoba puts that is visually stunning that I really want to read. But I haven't found out which, but it looks visually stunning and it looks unique. The one with the many eyes, Metala or what's the name? Yeah, that is one that I'm going to use to read. Yeah, to read because it looks visual. The third one that I actually did like, I like the lore behind it. I like that. Well, it reminded me of comics in which like Witchblade, right? That they had descendants of people, using that power or something like that. That was Ireti that it was mentioned. Yes, I know you're looking. That's Ireti, and you're looking like I'm going to catch this boy now, but no. That's the third one I like. But honestly, I genuinely like the visual style of Metal Lab. But Super Strikers was one I was being consistent for quite a long time. That's why I put it on the pedestal there because it's been around for quite a long time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. Moving on to Wale. I'm not going to be asking us who the comics that he likes because obviously he's here as a creator, so he's definitely going to mention his own comics. So but he's going to go straight to the interview with us. But Wale, what African comics have you read that really, really struck you?
I think he's frozen again.
Yeah, he's frozen.
Then we can just go straight
Wale.
to Oz. Hey, Wale, are you there?
He's not.
Okay, he's gone. Let's go straight to Oz. Okay, so Oz, I have read Eru, and I really thought the visual style was extremely interesting. I think it was really, really good. The art of Eru is one of the best things about it. But one of the things I have always personally wondered is I've always wondered about the direction that you guys are taking it in. Is it possible for you to tell me a bit about the direction of Eru as a concept, as a book, as a series?
Okay. I'm going to try and do. It's pretty hard to do that without giving out any spoilers. Yeah. So I'm going to try and be really careful, although it's going to be a bit vague. So one thing we're trying to avoid, is working with a lot of what's the word? Noise at the back. Okay, we're trying to avoid doing what they will expect, but the problem with that is that most people might not be. I'm looking for the right word. They might not be too clear on what's going on at first, but it's like when you're watching things like Legion, yeah. In the beginning of Legion, it's a bit sparse. You might not really get what's going on, but towards the end of the season, things just start putting themselves together, and you're like, oh, okay, this is why this happened, and this is why that happened. One issue you might encounter with that is that people might not be patient, which is an advantage, a bit patient to see what's going on. But if it's one thing we can give ourselves kudos for in this issue is that we are able to sort of explain one or two things. If you really take your time and read it, you can draw some connections between what happened in this issue and that issue.
Okay, fair enough. So let's just move to Nuru. Nuru, what do you want to ask?
I guess, if I'm not mistaken, with Eru in particular, because I haven't read all of them, and for some reason I wanted to actually go back and start from the beginning. I read Eru 1, 2, 3, 4, and all that. But on the site, it kept telling me I couldn't find them, and then when I had issues getting them. But I read Eru number 4, I think it was, or 5, and I wanted to read number 6, but I haven't gotten to it. But there seemed to be a change in art style. I'm not sure if I'm right to say that, because it looked as if, on the one hand, the first one looked very dark, and then the opening panels of the second one I just saw was all very bright and everything. And then there's elements of the look and feel that made me think, okay, are these guys trying to use the art to represent the kind of chaos and fear, what fear can do and be, in terms of how your fears everybody's fears represent differently. Like Mo is scared that one day we'll actually beat him in a Batman argument or something. So I guess that's the first question. I guess is it the same artist all through?
Yes. The thing is, and this has more to do with my my own abilities as opposed to general creative decision. The thing is, I try to make my art serve the story. Like if you look at, I'm holding a copy of the current issue. I don't know if you can see the details. It has a bit of an old school feel to it.
Right.
So the art serves the story. So one thing you're going to find consequently in my art is that it's never going to repeat it's the same style as the previous issue. It has to blend with what kind of story I'm telling. So most likely, if I was handling let's say an Ireti story, and Ireti finds herself in Japan, we might see the art style in manga, for example. So it's
okay.
art is telling the story, but the art is never going to be repeated the same way. No.
Okay, and then there's the elements incorporated into the story I thought was interesting. Like when he goes in, when I read where he goes into the house, and the house seems to be a sentient being of its own, and he walks in there, and the house basically is cleaning itself up. And he walks in and it's like, you see the toilet, like what the? This is you've not fixed yourself up, and the house arranges itself into a whole new look. And then at some point, it looks like he's walking through Doctor Strange's Sanctum Sanctorum, and I'm like, okay, this is a mind trip. let's keep going here and see what's going on. It must be weird to come home every time. Sorry, say?
Yeah, I said that house was actually Toba's idea.
Oh, really?
Did you get that house from the House of Mysteries, Constantine? Is that an inspiration for it? The House of Mysteries in Constantine, was that an inspiration for it? For the house? Did anybody hear me?
Toba,
Yeah.
question is for you.
Yeah, the House of Mysteries, is it an inspiration for the house? The Constantine house?
No, not really though. I don't think that was the inspiration. We just kind of brainstormed various concepts together. We wanted to create something new, something that people would like, I mean, when I walk into a house that's just a house,
I think
kind of deeper. Sorry, Martin is trying. That is GD Martin.
It's distracting. There's elements of the art that really are interesting, like certain visual games that get played with the mind that tells you they want to play with you. Like for example, I think the one I was first reading at the school, and you can see the school building, and then it starts to change and realize, oh, you're actually looking at a reflection of the building in the guy's eye, and I'm like, okay, that panel to panel, it kept shifting from point to point, and I thought, okay, that's interesting. So we're going to be looking from his perspective, and then there's a part where he's telling the story of what happens when a thief breaks into the house, and I can't immediately tell right there and then if this is a real situation or a memory or if it's going to happen to him, and some of that wasn't clear. So I love the fact that they're trying to be adventurous rather than just basic bland panels. Okay, point A leads to point B, point B leads to point C. I get that. I love that. I guess I'm also curious about, how many of those tricks you feel you successfully pulled off, and how many you've got feedback that told you, okay, this didn't quite work. It confused, because on the one hand you want to excite the audience, but you don't want to confuse the audience.
But let's just move straight to Dapo. Dapo, what question do you have for us?
Right, so I'm going to start off by first apologizing to us because I have not read any of the latest. Am I coming?
Yeah, we can hear you clearly.
I've not read any of the latest issues. I do remember reading the very first one, and so my comment back then, I remember clearly, I think I was kind of used. I think there was a lot of darks in it, and please bear with me. I'm doing this from memory, so I don't really have any strong questions for you. But one question I was going to ask is: Are you both the writer and the artist on the same book?
Yeah, I'm also the writer, but I started writing from issue 4.
Right.
Just issue 4. From issue 4 down to 6. That's the longest I've been writing.
Okay, so you made a comment, I think, in response to it was Noah's question about the fact that the way you're weaving the story, it becomes clearer towards the end, and that it shows a lot of things that might confuse us in the first issue.
Yeah.
Now,
as it progresses, it gets clearer.
So my issue is, and you've made a comment, and I think this is exactly what happened to me. I read that first issue, and this has been a long while back, but I just remember that I read it and I thought, oh, okay, and I put it down. And I think part of that is probably because I didn't get what was happening, and just now, if the next one came out to me like the following month, I probably would have gone back, but I lost track. So I guess my question would be: do you guys have any plans to do a collect, like when you finish a story arc? Are you going to collect it and then re-release as a arc, like here, that's issues 1 to 8, which is one complete story? Have you got any plans to do anything along those lines?
Yes, we. Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah, I can hear you.
I can hear you.
Okay, yeah, sorry.
Thanks, Rod.
Now we can't hear you.
No, we can't. Yeah.
Well, we can't really hear you right now.
No, you should take over off hosting.
Yeah, he said so. I'm puzzled at that. Okay, real quick though, guys. Personally, I am on one of those quests to immerse myself in as much African comic book content as I can. So I actually made a list and found a whole bunch of names and started finding them to read. I've been reading stuff from Comic Republic. I've been reading stuff from Forget Johannes Publishers House. I've been reading stuff from the Unique Studios, and even some of the smaller guys, 4/7 guys on Blogspot and all that stuff. I'm looking at different stuff. As long as it's relatively good, I want to dive into it and see, okay, what's going on here? How are they doing and what's happening? And it's been very enlightening. It's been very enlightening. I've come across some guys who clearly have some good stuff. There's also been the occasional issue where you find, I don't know if you guys have encountered this, but some comics I found, African comics, some of them are hard to get into because the writer tries a little too hard to use, like they're trying too hard to reinvent the wheel. If you're creating a militaristic type situation and you're creating your own terms, I now have to understand the logic of the terms you're using just for your own story, when you don't necessarily need to do that. You could use certain terms that are accepted, Roger, over, 10-4. There's some things you can use, but you keep creating your own technical lingo and jargon. I first have to learn that jargon and lingo just to get into the story. So sometimes that's a problem. I don't know if you guys have encountered this.
I mean, I have come across, and I won't put it exactly the way you put it. What I've come across sometimes is, when I'm reading a story, sometimes somebody, and don't get me wrong, this is not only unique to African comics. I've seen this in some independents as well, where I can almost see them trying to be, I need to use this technique now because I should use this technique, or I need to now do this. It's almost like I can see their thought process as they're building the comic, rather than me losing myself inside the comic itself and the story itself. So, and that happens sometimes. Right. So I have come across that.
Okay, let me give you an example of okay, I'm not going to list the comic, but I've seen it happen in some comics. But I did like a few things, like in Eru, for example. Even though we're entering this mystical type world, it wasn't hard to get into. It wasn't like, it wasn't too hard to get into the what I'm hearing being said. But I would wonder, for example, hey, it's back. It's question. When you were that's fine. When you were creating stuff like I think the name of the house was Adohi or something. Ripper Adohi. You mentioned that it's based on Enochian text or language or script or something. I'm like, what is that? Is this a real thing?
Yes, actually, it's a real thing. It's according to some people, there are people that don't believe in it, but Enochian is actually supposed to be the language of the angels.
Yeah, I heard that it's supernatural ones.
Okay, yeah. Gotcha. Okay.
They also mentioned it in Constantine as well.
I didn't know about that. And that automatically shows the depth of, that's another thing I was going to get into, the depth of the research, the world building going on here that ties into actual, either actual mystical elements or actual mythologies that have been established out there.
Mm-hmm.
You guys seem to be doing quite a bit of research on your stuff. And I'm wondering, what's your basic philosophy in terms of digging deep to come up with the things that you put into the story?
Well, to be honest, okay, when we were first conceptualizing most of it, we didn't want to make it because you find a lot of titles that we're used to coming from around this area seem to be they play around some very simple concepts because they want to play it safe, or they want to create things that people can easily identify with, so to say. But the thing is, from what you get from comic fans, you realize that people are actually a lot smarter than we as the creators. Exactly. So what that gave us is that, okay, we can actually do things that are out of our little area of focus, and obviously the fans will get it. I mean, we don't have to use something that's always grounded here, something that's always so simple. We can go beyond our geographic location, and then people will still get it. People will catch on, because if they're dedicated, if they like the book, they'll obviously want to know, okay, what is this about? So we don't always have to limit it. And then, okay, fine. With that in mind, we now decided, you know what, let's not play it simple. Yeah, let's do something that. And again, another reason for that is that we didn't want, because a lot of people are seeing Eru as just the African god of fear, but he's not. He is fear. So, if for you to understand that he's fear means he's not just limited to Africa alone.
By default, yeah.
So you can see.
Before we conclude, I want to ask my question, because I guess want to about wrap these things up. We have three questions which has to do with three things, really.
Yeah,
I also want every comic. No, I'll just, it's brief. You can always answer what you can. But I just wanted to, the only comic I read was your first issue comic one time a while ago. There's something I noticed that about it. It was, I don't know if anybody noticed about it. It was a few pages that.
Your audio is bad.
Something I mentioned previously before, was that was that the consistency. You say you have your latest issue now. When was the last issue before this latest issue? Was it every month? Is it be consistent?
No, it was last year.
Problem. Yeah.
It was last year.
It was last year, which is not something you want to be following as a comic. You lose interest if I know, okay, I now invest my time in it. If I know that it's going to be every year, or when you're in the mood or something like that. Which comes down to business model and everything like that. So
that's a question for Jide. Can't bring him. He's in the corner.
This is an Elseworlds question.
Dude, we can't hear you at all.
Well, in lieu of his audio being that terrible, I had a question about your world.
Can you quickly answer the question so that we can just move on?
What question? I don't know what the question was.
Let me just take it like this. Yeah. Okay. There has been a gap. There has been a gap in our previous issues.
BP, we see you. BP, we see you.
Going forward,
I don't see anything.
More consistency.
Answer the question. Come on.
Yeah, so like I said, there has been a gap, admitted, but going forward, there will be a lot more consistency in our titles. So yeah, you can be expecting monthly 2019 upwards.
I was going to ask a question that is there ever going to be a crossover? Is it possible or feasible, like Eru meets Koisi or Eru meets Superman? Is it possible? Has it ever happened? Have you ever attempted that?
If I answer that, I'll be giving out spoilers.
Okay, but slow down. You're talking about.
I'm not denying.
Hold up. You're talking about crossovers outside the world.
Yes, exactly.
The comic book universe. That's insane.
We have Manga.
I have a question though, because that actually leads to something. Because I noticed, I think you mentioned in Amadioha, I'm sorry, I didn't cross-check this, but in Amadioha, there's talk about Easter eggs being placed in, I think it was Eru, that tied to Amadioha. Or am I wrong about that?
No. Okay, I don't know if you guys can see this, but I want to show you something. The quality is not too clear, so I don't think you see. But in the Eru issue 6, the page 1, there is a portrait of Amadioha in Eru's trophy room. So there is a connection. Issue 1, the very first issue. Very first. First page, issue 6.
Okay.
Yeah, you can see it. It's at the back. There's a portrait, so there is a connection. What that connection is, I can't say.
Okay, fair enough.
I like the fact that they're building the worlds like that. Though. It's cool. I like the fact that they're giving the potential for that.
Okay, Oz, thanks for your time. We've talked about African comics. If you guys have any comics, that you enjoy or that you like, or you even want to recommend to us to read, please make sure you drop in the comments, like, subscribe. Thank you. Nice. Thanks, guys. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I can see that. Okay. Thank you guys for watching. Take it easy.
Hey guys, thanks for watching. We've been talking a lot of smack, abusing each other and discussing and debating like we typically do on the Meltdown. Let us know your thoughts, ask any questions you have, abuse anybody you want to abuse in the comments, and also give us your feedback so we can try to improve this as we do it more and more often.
Don't forget to like and comment on this video and let us know what you think we should discuss.
Subscribe.
Why did you say subscribe? You guys take care.
Peace out. Peace out.